Donald Trump did release his highly controversial plan. Trump made his first stop right here on the record.
You see the numbers, you've seen what I put out, where 25% of those polled agree that violence against Americans is justified, and 61%, 51% want to be governed according to Sharia law. We can't have that. This is the people living here, Greta. We can't have it.
But today, even the White House is getting involved. Press Secretary Josh Earnest sharply denouncing Donald Trump.
The fact is that what Donald Trump said yesterday disqualifies him from serving as president. And for Republican candidates for president to stand by their pledge to support Mr. Trump, that in and of itself is disqualifying.
Countess Mark Steyn goes on the record. Mark, I bet if Donald Trump were here, he would say he doesn't care what Josh Earnest says.
No, and he's right to that extent. My late comrade Christopher Hitchens had a very good line, which he said he wanted an end to one-way multiculturalism. We take it as read that I cannot go, it's not just that I can't go and open a gay bar in Riyadh, I cannot open an Anglican church in Riyadh. So we have a situation where the Muslim world is increasingly closed, increasingly intolerant, far more than it was 50 years ago, and yet we invite people who have grown up in that atmosphere and expect them to be able to assimilate into the United States, Canada, Britain, Europe, and the rest. And the evidence is that across 2 or 3 generations is that there are real assimilation problems.
But Mark, there are many Americans born here, raised here, who are Muslims. Some even converted to become Muslims. Some are serving in our U.S. military, protecting me as I go home every night in my comfortable house. They're out there, walking some post.
No, and I accept that, and I have for many years. There was a very respectable pharmacist at the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry Base in Alberta. He was a perfectly assimilated Western Canadian Muslim. His daughter made her husband sign a prenup pledging himself to commit jihad. That's an unusual prenup. You don't get those kind of prenups in Hollywood. And she was part of a plot to behead the Canadian Prime Minister. There were the problems with second-generation Muslims of the kind we saw in San Bernardino are sufficiently common that a rethink of this issue is not out beyond the pale, should not be.
One of the victims in San Bernardino who's living, survived it, is Muslim, and this is what her husband said.
As a Muslim, and as somebody whose wife was in the attack, what do you say to Donald Trump?
I want him to reflect the situation my wife went through. There are 2 bullets went above her head, hit the wall. 1 bullet injured her right arm. Another bullet injured her left arm, and another bullet just passed through the skin of her stomach. Being a Muslim, she was also a victim at the same time.
What do you say about that?
Well, he's absolutely right about his poor wife. And again, it's consistent. There were Muslims injured in the London tube bombings. The policewoman at Charlie Hebdo who died was a Muslim. This is consistent across the world. The principal victims of radical Islamic imperialism are Muslims. But this is
that the distinction between radical Islam and moderate Muslims?
Yes, and I think what we ought to be doing, in fact, and this is where the President and the Secretary of State and others are so absolutely deplorable, that by absolving the whole of Islam, there is no pressure on moderate Muslims to take action against this poison in their own world. And if you cannot, and that is why it's entirely natural for someone like Trump to say, well, if Obama says no Islam, nothing about Islam is a problem. If Kerry says there's no Islam to see here, it's a natural reaction to make Islam the issue. And the fact is that to most of the American people, Trump sounds a lot less insane about this than John Kerry standing up in Paris as they're still washing the streets clean of blood, saying it's nothing to do with Islam. Trump isn't the one who sounds as nutty as John Kerry.
Mark, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Brett.